Hey, what's up guys? It's Tech Pastry here. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to do a resume review of two resumes that I picked out that I thought were really interesting. They're more on the financial sector, financial space. One is from a soon-to-be new grad, and the second one's from a person who's been in industry. But before I start that, I want to point out that I put a survey link in the description. If you guys could fill that out, it helps me sort of understand like the videos that you guys like and the types of videos that you guys want to see more of in the future. It's just a quick like 2-minute survey. So if you have like a spare second just before this video starts, go into the link and fill this out. I ask you questions like what kind of videos have you liked that I put out, and what kind of new video series ideas you might want to see in the future. And then there's some other questions that are miscellaneous, but thank you so much for taking a look. And now back to the main show. So the first resume comes from a current college student who's expected to graduate in December of this year. And I'm going to focus more on the experience section and sort of the bullet points on really telling your story. But I want to give it a full like look through to talk about the overall like layout as well as the style of the resume. Make sure all the right sections are there. So education, skills, experience, projects, and interest. All of this makes logical sense, and it's structured in a way that makes sense and flows easily to the eye. A typical recruiter will only look at a resume for about 6 or 7 seconds before going on to the next resume. So know that having your most important sections that really make you stand out at the very top is super important in order to get your resume noticed and looked at for longer than the short time that a recruiter usually takes a look. So education, 3.5 GPA, that's great. The skills section is short and sweet. They have experience with Python, Java, C, JavaScript, R, SQL, all great languages and frameworks. And then experience, they have 2 internships, a lead instructor job, and a research assistant. And then projects, they have 2 projects, which is honestly like a huge green flag for students because it's great knowing that this person has an interest for CS outside of class and they're willing to go out there and make something cool. And then an interest section, I think this is great for students. It shows that you can do something that's beyond just like coding and side projects. I think that it makes you more well-rounded as a person. As an anecdote, one of my friends who, not exactly in software, but he works in finance, actually, one thing that caught his eye about somebody that he ended up hiring was that they also have an interest in Dota 2, and he saw that they were interested, so it made him stand out because he also played Dota 2, and because of that, he ended up looking at the resume longer and then eventually picking him out for an interview. So having an interest does help because everybody who reviews these resumes are real people, and if there's like a connection, then you're more likely to stand out amongst a pile of resumes. So education, cumulative GPA 3.5. This is honestly great, especially in a tough field like STEM. Having anything above like a 3.0 is a major green flag, so that's awesome. Experience, going to the first bullet point, they had a internship in New York City. They were a quantitative strategist, summer analyst, so this is something in the finance sphere. So going through the bullet points, they wrangled 8.8 terabytes of financial data using HDFS, PySpark, and Pandas. These are all great technologies. This first bullet point tells me sort of what technologies he's used. So this is directly using this, applying what he had in the skill section into his experience. So this paints a better story. He leveraged Dash to create interactive dashboards and remodels, visualized 12 previous data sets, and allowed 400 end users. This is also great. Utilize Python to supervise machine learning. So one thing that stands out to me from here is that these bullet points are all separate things, but they don't really tell a full story of like the accomplishments that you've done. For example, like doing 8 terabytes of financial data shows that the scale that you worked on is big, but it doesn't really fit into the overall idea of what the overall story that you're telling with your bullet points. For example, like reframing this to saying something like, my overall summer intern project was to visualize more data using Dash and provide visualization of unknown data sets. Doing this, I wrangled 8 terabytes of financial data using HDFS, PySpark, and Pandas, and then also used Python to analyze that data using supervised machine learning. Is a much more compelling story, and it really gives a whole idea of what you did over the summer, because most tasks that exist don't usually exist one-off unless you're fixing a bug. When you work on a bigger project, there are various strings of tasks that work into each other. So that really gives you a chance to tell a story of the accomplishments that you did at the job. Like for example, like it sounds like the summer project here is really about opening access to unknown data sets. And by doing so, he managed at large scale. So I would just completely reword this and probably start it off with like, manage the summer project of visualizing unknown data sets. By doing so, and then use a STAR format, which is situation, task, action, result, to tell the story. And that's something else that ended up not being in these bullet points is the result of all this. Maybe something to say like increased investor productivity, or utilize like 20% more of the data set that is in this company's data lake would be another great result from this. So I think like from the takeaway from this is add result and move bullet points around to paint a better story. So next, we're going to cover the next internship experience. So he worked with Amazon Web Services, AWS, which is a popular cloud computing platform provided by Amazon. He designed AI operation bot that automatically triages incoming tickets, analyzes customer impact, built the system in native AWS with dependencies on SNS, SQS, Lambda, and Matrix, saved 27 hours per month on-call investigation time. So this is actually like a very good written bullet point. This is like a great, there's nothing I can really add to this. It's honestly like, this is very well written. The only thing that I would maybe add is some more of the languages that he used to write this AI operation bot. I'm a little curious if he only saved 27 hours per month on the team, or he like also rolled this out to other people inside the company, because it seems like a very cool tool. Funny enough, I think I might have used this when I was at Amazon, so kudos, like that's pretty cool. Next, he was a lead instructor at Taipei, Taiwan. In Taipei, Taiwan, he did 2 programming courses, 5-star reviews. So this is not direct software engineering experience, but it is something to fill your resume, and it gives more meat. It shows that like you have experience outside software engineering, but this doesn't really add to your package, your packet as much. So once you get more experience, like definitely I would just remove this or deprioritize it, shorten it to like 1 or 2 bullet points. But overall, this is good. If I saw this, I'd probably just skim over it, and just the takeaway would be like, oh, you did something outside of working as a software engineer, which is awesome. And then the last one, he was a research assistant, which developed an online course in Flask and Postgres. So he did something that he built himself, which I think is really interesting. I feel like self-starters and people that are able to take a very ambiguous task and build something out of it gets a lot of is good for interviews, because you can always everybody loves talking about and hearing about something that was started from scratch, instead of like having a project handed to you and being expected to execute on it. So being able to like build something where you had very little guidance is a huge green flag. The end goal of all software engineers that enter these like big companies is that you should be like fully independent. So being able to do that is awesome. So that pretty much covers the experience section. I'm gonna this one I would only add more technologies or coding languages. He added technology, so add coding languages used. This one I would shorten as you get more experience. And this is honestly like a great bullet point. This just some minor things. I would remove this this hanging word, remove or get into previous line. So going on to the project section, he built a course recommender, which is honestly like a great project. He used machine learning and used it to recommend courses to students. Created a Django web application that simulated stocks. He used IEX Cloud. And this is pretty awesome. I would add more about like the coding languages. He used Django, so it was Python. Maybe like this shows that you have an interest in finance. I would add more about the outcome of this, like what was it for, or is it just something that you did because you wanted to look at stock prices? So I would like add more of an outcome to this project, like what is the why. So overall, this is like a very solid resume. I definitely would look at this and be like, especially from a student, this is pretty impressive. So this is definitely up there. So the next resume, resume 2, comes from somebody more in the quant space. Although this is more of a design resume, it looks very pretty and very clean. It's not like a super standard like list all your accomplishments in a row in a list type resume, but it is very like neatly designed. Feels very elegant. So I'm not mad at this. It's like, if I looked at it, the design would catch my eye. All the sections are there very logically: education, professional experience, extracurricular skills, relevant coursework, and awards. So this guy has been out of school for about 2 years, and he started working full time starting in July 2020 to the present. He also worked there as a summer in summer 2019. So he did an internship and then he started there full time. He got 3.83, which is great. That's a very high GPA. And he worked at a financial firm starting as an intern, and then he works mostly on a trading desk. He worked on swaps and synthetics OTC, maintained extended and improved software infrastructure for quant risk and derivative pricing, client analytics. So he's working mostly with data and ingesting and handling prices. He designed and implemented an automated reporting system. So this is a major project that he used to calculate price threshold levels for different assets, and then he developed a equity swaps contract around distinct pricing models to facilitate migration of contracts of depreciated software to a more robust implementation. So he did a migration towards the end of an outdated system to a new one. So this is a lot to unpack, and he put a lot of meaning into like very small bullet points. I think that the most so the story that he was saying is that the first bullet point tells me that he works on a trading desk. He worked on the infrastructure, and he worked mostly in risk, pricing, and client analytics. So then he went on his two projects, which the biggest glaring thing that he's missing in these two is the result of it. So they both sound like very impressive projects, but it's a little bit unclear like what was the reason for doing this and what result happened because of it. If you could like add a section on like maybe how much efficiency it saved or it created, or like how much time it saved, how much revenue generated, like all of those would be great points to like sharpen, like improve the story and make add more meat to the projects and the reason why. He also worked on, this is more showcasing the expertise, the experience that he gained working on these instead of like the tools he used or like the scale of the project. So I'd probably also add something that indicates the scale of these projects. So why is scale important? The scale is mostly because a project that only handles like a gigabyte of data has very different requirements than a project that handles terabytes of data a day. So knowing the scale sort of helps me understand like whether this person is like, if I was like hiring for a random company, whether this person is able to handle the projects at the scale that I operate at. So giving a clue to how big the project is will make me understand like whether it's comparable work. And this sounds like something that is super interesting. Is probably more in the finance space. So a financial firm might like find this more interesting. However, I believe of course I can't speak for every tech firm. For most tech firms, this is like not exactly the same domain. So next, going to extracurriculars, he was he was a TA. He TA'd various courses and he led office hours. This is like this is definitely extracurricular. It doesn't really apply to his professional experience, but it shows that he can do something outside of coding, software engineering classes. So he put his skills. He did Java, which for most software firms people know is an object-oriented programming. We program every day. So I think that this gets a little redundant, but it's not bad to have. So Python, R, he used it for statistical analysis, stochastic modeling, optimization methods. So this is mostly a scripting language for math. Statistical analysis is doing like probably analysis on pricing data. Stochastic modeling is modeling future projections, and optimization, I'm guessing that's he's doing to optimize his strategies. SQL, which is a very common language, which is just used to query query for data, and then Scala, which is which is low latency programming, probably something to calculate prices or do some sort of trading. So he mostly focused on financial engineering and capital markets, which is he's very much like a fintech guy. He was Dean's List. All of these are super impressive. This is like a super like impressive guy. I honestly I would probably, if I got this resume for like a hypothetical company, I would probably interview him, because once he with this impressive accomplishments of Dean's List, such a high GPA, and then working on complicated problems, I think that it would warrant meeting him because this is like super interesting. Of course, like I can't speak on behalf of anybody, but personally for me, like as an independent person, this is like a very impressive resume. It's very unique. It's something that's different, but it's mostly focused on the financial sector, which probably doesn't apply to general software engineering. But it is still very cool. So that's it. I only have 2 resumes prepared for you guys. Thanks for watching, and remember to hit like, subscribe. It helps the algorithm. If you stayed with me this long, fill out the survey. And if you want your resume reviewed, I added another survey underneath the main text pastry survey. Feel free to drop your resume. I can't guarantee when I'll get to it, but I'm trying to do this on a very regular cadence. So thanks again. Peace out, much love, and later.